Are you guys still in your PJs or your eating pants from Thanksgiving? I am so stuffed. We had a beautiful Thanksgiving and I hope you did too. So the most excellent part of Thanksgiving was that I didn't have to cook. You see, every Wednesday night we go to our neighbor's house and we play a German game called Munch. And it's almost like Parcheesi, but you use less die and there's different rules. But the board, you're just doing a lap around the board and trying not to get sent home by the mean other players. Anyway, guess who won 3 games and didn't have to cook? Aaron was sure that I was going to lose and he was going to win. And he said, if I lose, meaning him, I would have to cook. So you guess I was on the couch. Actually, no, I was sewing. I was getting ready for poinsettias. All right, let's get to the show. All right, so we're getting into the holidays, and as Mr. Berg said, he's like, yeah, we're getting into the spirit. And you know me, my name is Chip Connor. This is the Quilt Stream, and I am so glad to have you. I was trying to put it in here. So yeah, Brendan says, first it was stockings, and now it's poinsettias. So if you haven't seen them already, last week I worked on the very, let me get rid of this message, the very basic Idiot's Guide, and there's Stuart coming in. But I did the stockings, easy peasy, no lining. If you're a first time sewer or it's been a while, or you just don't want to make somebody who's, you know, on your naughty list a fully lined stocking. And I made Aaron's and my stockings. They're so cute. These are the fully lined. So if you want to know how to make these and get around mistakes that I've made, watch last week's episodes. So we went from that, and what is Thanksgiving and the holidays and Black Friday without friends? Let's see who's in the room. Let's take Rob's roll call. We have Johan, and I love it. He's I guess he's a poet today. He's got Percy the punny poinsettia is hanging his bloom in dismay. If they had just kept him wetter, he'd be a houseplant today. Thank you, Johan. We've got Angel. We've got Graham. So glad to have you from the UK. We've got Tracy. We've got Susan, Mrs. Kravitz. I'm going to get everybody who ever watches this show calling Susan Mrs. Kravitz. She'll be peeking out the windows. We have Mr. Berg. He is Mr. Meticulous and makes beautiful quilts. And we've got Stuart. I don't know how this man even has time to tune in. He's busy making bows. He's doing interviews. Check him out at the Wool Patch. And of course, whoa, we've got needles at the ready. So glad to have you guys. And so welcome to Black Friday. Have you guys gotten into your shopping yet? I hope you're getting ready because there are only 29 days until Christmas. Me, who does not like Christmas this year, is totally in the Christmas spirit. This is the year that Aaron and we make each other stuff, but we're not buying each other any stuff. No crap in this house, unless it's quilting or knitting related. Yeah, so speaking of poinsettias, you've seen it in the thumbnail. We've been talking about it. We had Johan's gorgeous pun. So I thought I would take a crack at a different way of doing a poinsettia. So let's see. So I have a pattern where I'm loosely following it. It's called the Freshly Pieced pattern. And because I have a green screen, of course, that doesn't show the true color. So let's give that to you. But this is the poinsettia kind of stylized that we're working off of, and I wasn't really into the directions for this one, but I was like, you know what, I still want to do it. I want to do a poinsettia. So that is what we're going to be working on. All right, so what are the pieces that we're going to need? So depending on whether or not you want this to be a two-colored poinsettia or a three, you know, choose your colors. I'm sticking with just a red poinsettia, and actually it might help if I show that picture again. So we've got in this one, you may not be able to tell real well. Maybe I could take you to the needle cam. And that doesn't want to work. Are you alive today? We may not have a needle cam today. So we've got two colors on each petal. So on the left, you can't see that, but it's a real red. And then on the right, it's a pink. And even looking at that, I really, you know, I'm not fussed about going to the extra mile of adding more fabric. So I'm going to do just a red petal poinsettia. So I've tried to test one yesterday, and where did you go? I was trying to clean up for company. So this was the one I was starting to work on yesterday, and I was kind of like, I didn't want to do a half square triangle there, and I was just looking at a different way of doing the layout, and then I was actually cutting true to size according to their measurements, and then I was just like, it wasn't, even though I had a perfect quarter seam, it just wasn't adding up. And so what I'm going to do with you today is build all of my pieces oversized and then trim. So if you are somebody who likes to square up your blocks as you go and as you're sewing, you know, sometimes you just get into the flow, and you may not be so meticulous, and then you're going to wish that you had a little bit more room to trim and square off. So for this one, I'm actually going a little bit bigger, so that way I can scale each piece down, and it's going to turn out to that, I think it's a 13.5-inch block, but we'll see what we get. So the first thing that I'm going to tackle are these little checkers. And what I want, I'm actually working with some red and some white. So I've got already in pairs. I've got, and remember, these are oversized. So these I have at 2.5 square. So I'm going to take and pair up, and I need for the poinsettia, because we're going to do, let me take you back to the picture. We're going to do this little guy here, which is, I know it's hard to see, but you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 of these little checkers for each poinsettia block. And if I need 4 of those, hopefully I've cut enough. So I have 2 already finished. Voila. But we're going to make 2 more, which require 4 of those, red and white. So no needle cam today. The GoPro, it's an order of events thing, and to be honest, when I was turning things on, my stream software wants to be turned on after I turn on the GoPro, and I forgot to turn on the GoPro first. So it's not that it was me that the issue. I just wish the system would recognize it, but whatever. So we're doing real easy peasy. We're doing chain piecing for the checkers. And then we're going to give them a press. Oh, I caught myself. See, every time I was watching the quilt stream the other day, And I noticed every time I'm sewing, my pinky goes up. I don't know if that means I'm dainty as I sew, but I guess I don't know what else to do with my pinky, but I wish it would just go down and touch the table. It's like, I don't do that on anything else that I'm aware of. All right, so we're gonna take this to our guillotine, then to our hot iron. I'm gonna press to the dark. And when we have a moment, which I think I'm going to take right now. So along with gratitude and then with Thanksgiving, I have a circle of friends, many of you who have tuned in today, and I know I forgot to say it Monday before the holiday, but officially I'm going to put it out there to the universe and tell you that I very, very am so happy that I've found like-minded misfits who like to sew like me, like to quilt, and it really is such a nice feeling for me personally. When I was watching, it's a nice feeling to have friends in the community, because when we first, over on our other channel, Fiber Hustle, when we first started, man, there was a lot of knitters that like to get on calls together, and we're like a really tight community. And I feel like finally I have found my tribe, because, you know, it's pretty tough when you're holding down a day schedule, and to be able to get out. And most meetings or guilds, you know, they have like all these daytime things, and then, but they also have, what is it called? Politics in the quilting community. And you know me, that's not where I'm at. And I just want to get in there and, you know, laugh and learn and just enjoy one another's company. So for Thanksgiving this year, you guys need to know I am very, very thankful that you're in my life and we're here together. And if you're a new friend, welcome. Where is it? Like and subscribe. And let's get to know each other. All right, so what I've done is I've nested my seams, and then I'm actually going to show you a trick that I did. You're going to laugh. Was battling this earlier this morning. I'm going to give you two tricks. If you're ever working and you're just like, the fabric won't grab, I carry some Utterly Smooth body cream, but it's really, it almost has the texture of, what's the skin cream, the cold cream that you put on your face, Noxzema. It almost has that texture, but it really, you know, it just gives you that moisture in your skin, and then it's like, oh, I can start picking up the fabric. And the nice thing is that there's no, like, it doesn't really leave a greasy feeling on my hands, and it really doesn't get into the fabric, but it helps me. It's kind of like what the tellers do at the bank when they use that wax. There. Now all of a sudden, it wants to grab. So now we're in business. Okay, so this is exactly why I wanted to work a little bit bigger. If you're cutting all of your pieces to just exactly a 1/4 inch, or with both sides of the seam, it would be a 1/2 inch. If you're cutting everything to that exact 1/2 inch, sometimes you're going to be in that flow and then you're not going to be sewing. So here I am talking, and I'm noticing that my pieces didn't line up absolutely perfect, and that's going to be a good opportunity for me to be able to trim my block and make it perfect in the end. So it's not where my sewing is going to screw things up. Believe you me, I create enough of my own problems. So with this, we've got big checker, and I'm going to spin my seams and I'll show you hopefully what that looks like. So I'm kind of opening them up with my fingers first. Give it a press. And then there's one little seam I need to pop in the very center so that my seam will open. There we go, perfect. All right, so I've got that one. Voila. And then I've got the second one to do. Okay, I'm going to pop that center seam. And all the kids will say, "How did you do that?" Science. There we go. Okay, so I've got both of those pressed. And one thing that the other tip besides the lotion in my hands, the second thing I was going to tell you is that with red and white quilts, you'll notice that these reds, like all of these little frayed edges that they're a part of quilting life, those can be a nemesis. So once you've got your entire quilt block built and then you were ready to start making your layers, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you think you've done a good job, but invariably, there's going to be those rats, those random annoying threads, I like to call them, that on the back, they just pop through. So like the very deep red, saturated red is going to pop through to the red, through the white. And as I'm building each little piece, I'm getting rid of as much as I can along the way. That way I don't have this, like this, you can see there's so many little threads there that invariably, if you don't take care of them now, it's going to be a lot more annoying and hard to do it as you get bigger. So I like to do it in the moment. And I think it's just as important as like spinning your seams, keeping that good 1/4 inch. But if it'll make you so much happier when you don't see those random threads popping through. All right, so now we've got 2 of those built, and we need to get those turned into this. And I was talking with Rob the other day, and he's working on a project, and I was like, "Hey, have you heard about these lock block rulers?" I'm telling you, these are the most amazing thing. They are going to absolutely change the way that you square things up. They make one that is actually for your strip dies. And what it is, if you notice, let me take one of our half square triangles. If you feel and you pressed your seams to one side, you're going to have a little ridge that just naturally forms because you're going to have just slightly that extra fabric on the, like on here, it's going to be on the dark side, but you have that extra fabric there. And what your lock block ruler will do, and they come in all kinds of sizes, but basically those go right into, there's a little channel that's built into the ruler and it just hugs that. And so what's nice is that you can really you can really ensure that you're getting an absolute straight line as you're cutting, because it's going to follow that seam line, and it really will make the difference when you're squaring up. Now, you can use a regular acrylic ruler and just, use your measurements, but I'm telling you, when you have this with the little channel and it just grabs onto that seam, now all of a sudden you're getting an absolute square when you're squaring up. So I would say if you can find those, maybe there's a holiday Black Friday special on them, but they make a whole wide range of them. They make them for your half square triangles, they make them for your rectangles, they make them for flying geese. I know that there's a couple people of my quilting friends that have them, and they swear by them too. You may not use them with every project, but you're darn going to be glad that you have them when you do. So I'm actually using which one did I want to use? I wanted to use the strip set, and I'm taking this, and I apologize. Do I have a down camera? I do. So I'm going to take this, and so basically you can see without any effort, I'm just sliding. Now it wants to grab. There you go. I'm just sliding, and you can see that it's grabbing onto that. So then what I want is, this needs to be a 2.5 inch finish, I believe. Yep, that's going to be 2.5. So I want to go, I'm thinking, all right, I want to go 1 1/4, which is right there. I think that was it. So that's 1 1/4. So I want to go 1 1/4 to get my 2.5 inch block. So I'm going to do that. So, yep, 1 1/4. Go boop, and I'm going to turn it around, and I have 1 1/4. Actually, that's 1 1/2. So I did a little too less. There we go. 1. Where are you? Right there. Because 1 1/4, 1 1/4 equals 2.5. So there we go. And then we go 1 1/4. And we'll do 1 1/4. And I'm telling you, this is awesome blossom. Oh. Okay, so that should now be 2.5, and it's a beautiful 2.5. So boom. So that's 1, 2, and let me do my third one, or my fourth one. So I'm going right in the center, and I have right there. So that would be 1 1/2. This is 1 1/4. Turn it around. And I can feel it. It just wants to go in that channel, which is really awesome. 1 1/4. And where'd it go? Let me use this side now. Oh, did I just lose myself? There we go. 1 1/4. And 1 1/4. All right, so now I have 2 perfect, or actually 4 perfect ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are ready. All right, let's check in on the room. What am I missing? What are you guys talking about? Bring it on. I love it, Brendan. Yes, I would love to be a Lock Block ambassador. They make so many, and I know that you can get it on Chipazon. And so Rob, he says, did I immediately buy the Lock Block rulers when Chip told me about them? Yes, I did. Drug pusher. Yeah, these, I mean, I'm telling you, you're going to be so excited. You're going to be like, smell me. Yeah, and so here we go, proof positive. Stuart says, yeah, I love Block Lock. I use one for flying geese, and that ridge is wonderful. So Brendan, yes, and who else? I know Tracy has them. And I've got to take a pause. I got to take a pause. So our beautiful, amazing, talented, wise, creative Tracy Pira over, and I'm going to mess up her last name. I think it's Italian. Tracy, which is in the room, she has a new pattern that she allowed me to test for her. And it was, gang, this was the first pattern I ever tested for. And I am so excited that she let me do it. I mean, for my job, I used to be, you know, partly technical writing and coming up with research plans for our researchers. And so I was used to like editing and going through, and I was giving her a laundry list, and I was like, oh my God, does everybody do this, Tracy? I'm sorry. And you know, like when it comes to design, people who actually write the pattern are doing some heavy lifting, because they want to make sure that they're not going to be there for you, but you are taken care of. And this is a quarter of the pattern, and this one's called Mod Coins. And why this is an amazing pattern, whether you are somebody who is brand spanking new, or you're somebody who, hey, you know, I think I've got this gig down, but let me take it up a notch. Tracy really did a great job in teaching you value. So going from light to dark and playing with those values, not the tones necessarily. And what I love is that, I kid you not, when I was reading the pattern, it was like going back to college, and it was like a textbook. So if you're looking for something that is actually going to give you, hey, here's your checkpoint, here's your sanity checkpoint, this is where you should be. She teaches you how not to cut corners and what pitfalls to be aware of. This pattern is absolutely going to make you a better quilter. I absolutely promise that. So I would encourage you, if you would please go over to Tracy's website. This is Tracy. We love her. She has an Etsy page, and man, you're not going to break the bank doing this pattern. She has done so much work for you, and you can download this and immediately get to work on it. It is really worth your time. And here's me, proof positive, I went outside. But yeah, definitely, it's already in the show notes. I encourage you to check out Tracy. And she also did another pattern based on Mod Coins, and she's like, hey, anybody interested? Because I think she's going to be writing a pattern for this one too, and it's very timely. It's based on the coin blocks, and it's just in time for the holidays. So thank you, Tracy. I am so grateful that you allowed me and trusted me to pattern test for that. And now that it's out into the wild, I want everybody to take it as if it's a course, because it is definitely going to make you a better quilter. All right, that's my plug for Tracy. We got poinsettias to do. All right, so getting back. There we go. And so Emma tested it, Stuart tested it, so We love it. And make sure that you all get on her back because I want the pattern for that Christmas tree. All right, so poinsettias. Now that we have our 4 little checkers, boom, boom, and boom, boom, now we can put those to the side for a moment because we're going to make a little sashing that goes around that check. And for this one, we want, we're going to need, how many of those? We need 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and we need 4 of those. So I've already got strips made for 1.5 inches, so I need 4 now of the 2.5. And 2.5. Boom, boom. All right, so we needed 4 of those, and those are going to go always to the bottom. And for this particular layout, I'm going to have my red little square in the upper left corner, and there is no right side face. I was just going to say right side facing, but we're going to sew these to the bottom of that. And where's my little jumper? Here it is. Okay. When I was making these yesterday, or when I was playing around with the poinsettia block, I was watching my holiday movies. Are you guys into the zone now? Are you watching your holiday Lifetime movies? I know I asked the other day, and I think it was Angel who said that that's her. Was it Angel? That's her jam. She is totally addicted. We watched Friendsgiving last night, which I don't know how I would rate it. It's kind of a silly adult humor Thanksgiving special, or not special, but movie. It was all right. All right, and this time I'm going to, because there's less bulk, I'm actually going to be pressing towards that sashing that we're creating. And one thing that I got out of testing Tracy's block, because let's face it, how many patterns have you guys bought? Or maybe you're doing a quilt along, maybe you're doing whatever, and how many times do you buy the pattern and then not read the directions? You're like, I think I'm good with the pictures. Is that an innate, is that like a pre-screening characteristic? Oh, you're a quilter if you don't read directions. Well, I kid you not, Tracy's instructions are so thorough. Even if this is the one pattern that you ever do that you actually do read the directions, you're gonna thank yourself, because she reminds you, and it's like a master class for all of us to, do your sanity checks. So like I just, as you're piecing, to make sure that you're actually getting the size that you believe that you should. And then maybe you need to move your needle a scant, or you need to change your stitch length or something. Maybe it's too tight and things are bunching, whatever it might be. But if you do those sanity checks, that's what Tracy is saying. Hey, it's going to make you a better quilter. And even though mine was, it was not the most beautiful thing, just because I was really digging for my stash and I wanted it to be more of an exercise. I really love it. I absolutely love it. I love how it just goes from that. And I think I did a good job on perfecting going from light to dark. But anyway, now that I've got the bottom, we've done a 1.5 by 2.5 inch. Now I need to do on the side here, we're gonna do another 1.5 inch wide, but this time I believe it wants to be 3 inches. What does it want to be? It wants to be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to go back to my strips, and we need 4 that are going to be 3.5. So 1.5 by 3.5. That is hilarious. I just grabbed a stack of them to cut. I didn't even make sure that there was 4, but there's 4. All right, and then this one, we want to make sure that, actually the sashing that we're working on is going to be, the one we just did was on the bottom, and now we're putting it on to the side. And these are all going to get rotated around the block, around the poinsettia. So the orientation that we have here is good for all 4 of them. You don't have to worry about mirroring them. And this one, I can already see, maybe I was a little sloppy as I was cutting, but I'm definitely going to need to square this up. Hiya! Again, I'm going to press to the sashing side. And the way that that other pattern was working was that it would have you working with a lot more half square triangles. And I dumbed the pattern down so that I'm only using 2 colors, and that way I actually could save a couple of steps by doing it that way. So you can see this one is not absolutely perfect, and I'm just going to square that up. And this should finish at 3 inches, which it actually kind of does. So I'm just going to leave it that one the way it is. And this one looks good too. Yep. And we'll do this last one. Now that is a kind of, I think for me, an interesting question. Asking my community, are you the type, do you guys like to, and this would be maybe for your more seasoned quilters, do you like to build your blocks oversized and trimmed down, or do you like to cut exactly what the pattern is going to call for, a 1/2 inch above what the finished size is going to be? Which do you guys like to do? All right, so now once we've got the 4 corners done, and how beautiful is that? I love how red that is. Once you've got that done, now we want to work on, what do we want to work on? I'm going to look at, yeah. So we're going to do some half square triangles, and that's these guys right here, and you're going to need 4 of these. And you can either work from, I know there's 2 ways of doing it. You can work from pre-cut half square triangles, assemble those, and you'll need 8 of them. No, I'm sorry. Yes, you need 8. I think there's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You need 8 of them. So you need 8 of these. Or you can do your whole square and then do a square of white, a square of red, and then sew your 2 lines down. But I, again, made mine bigger so that I could trim them down to size to make sure that everything was going to go smoothly for me. You end up doing the same amount of stitches, whether you do it, whether you do these individually, block by block, or if you do them by sewing and cutting. Actually, I guess I'm cutting before sewing, where you're gonna, what do? You sew, then cut. Okay, so I needed 8 of those, and I have some already prepared. Again, I'm going to press to the dark side. And even these half square triangles, they shouldn't be too much of a challenge for you. But again, if you're somebody who's maybe a little bit more aggressive with the iron than maybe you should be, and you end up with a wonky square because of the bias, then definitely you may be a good candidate to start bigger and go smaller. So I'm going to take my, I believe this is, I want to be at a 3-inch finished. Let me get my little test piece to remind myself. So this is 1, 2, 3, 3.5. I want to be at 3.5. So where is my little, actually, did I pull that one out? I thought I did. So like I had the flying geese, not that you can see easy, but they have, I was like, add to cart. Here's a bigger one, that'll work. So this one is this is 6 inch, and I want 3-inch finished. So I'm going to take my finished, and where I'm going to go with it, so right here I want to make sure that when I'm counting up to 1 inch, I'm actually going from this very corner right here. What happens if you turn it the wrong way, then to have this out on the edge, it actually, the lip comes up, and that seam, once it doesn't ride to the very corner. So you just want to make sure that you have the right orientation. And then I want to go, and I said I wanted a 3.5-inch block, so I just slide it down, and see how nicely that it just slides in place. So I'm going to do it at 3.5 inch, and that's 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. Where am I? 1, 2, 3, and I want to go up till I'm at 1/2 inch and trim. Oops. There we go. So now I've just created a perfect 3.5 inch, and I need 8 of those. So 3.5 right there. And I can see that I'm 3.5 here, 3.5 here. So no matter what kind of sins I've created when I was actually sewing, I've just negated that by being able to trim down. And that is good in my book. 3.5. And this side looks a little bit more square. So we want 3.5 right there. So I have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Cool. So we want to go 3.5. So sometimes I'm looking at these and I notice that I may not be as square as I'd like. And so that's when I just change the orientation and go for the one that's more square. As you're making these, you may look at your pile and you may think, oh, these look good. So that looks roughly square, but come on, we can be more square. It's hip to be square. So there's 3.5. Oh, I was wondering why that didn't look right. 3.5. Yep, that looks good. Keep turning it myself around. No, that was right. One more. Voila. And okay, so we've got our 8 of those made, and now we're actually doing pretty good, because if we're looking at the example here, we've just created the checkered with the sashing. We've created all 8 of the outer half square triangles, and now we just have to add the square. And I've created, I need 4 of those. So those are also going to be 3.5 square. Okay. All right, so we have 1, 2, I'm just going to do a pile of these. 3 and 4. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Measure how many times and cut once. There we go. So that looks good, 3.5. And we'll do this one at 3.5. All right, so before we get into the assembly, let me follow up and see what the comments are. And yes, so Johan, he's going to go sit on Santa's lap. I don't think they let adults do that. No matter what's on your wish list, maybe if there's a Santa at your local sewing shop. And oh, and so Tracy says she sat blushing into her knitting. Why are you knitting? So Tracy was saying that she likes to cut oversized for the triangles, but not for the squares, which I was just using one of my cutters, and I was just like, okay, let me just do what was here, and it was easy for me, so that's why I did that. Yeah, and so that's the other way. So Tracy was bringing up that you could do your strips. So instead of doing littles, but I only had a little bit to do, and so instead of doing a whole strip, taking a whole strip of red, a whole strip of white, each at 1.5 inches top and bottom, sew them together, and then do 1.5-inch strips, and keep flipping those to make your checker. So there's many ways, and I thought about doing that too, but I wanted to show for bringing it down. But I actually could have oversized even the strips as I was doing it to then cut down. But I was like, it started becoming more and more math, and I didn't feel like doing that. And so, and then Tracy's, getting back to her mod coin, is all strip piecing. So again, you can, I think her pattern, if memory serves right, you were able constantly to be able to trim and make sure that everything was square. Yeah, I mean, again, these are really just good skills to develop as you're going along, even if you've done it 100 times. But just sometimes it's nice just to do a sanity check to make sure that you're doing it right. All right, so now we get to actually start assembling this sucker. So I'm gonna get 4. I need my 4. Where do my blocks go? 4 squares. About. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 of the outer part of the poinsettia. And then I have my inside. So the way that we're going to attack this is to sew, we have the upper left-hand corner. So we're going to wind up with quadrants. So you're going to have the checker in the upper left-hand corner. Then we need one of these on the right. And actually my orientation's wrong. So, and you notice I still cut these just a little bit bigger because I wanted to make sure that everything was going to be the right size. So we've got that, and then we have this guy right here. And then we just do some sashing, and then we put it all together. I mean, like, this thing will come no problem. So I'm taking my my lower part, cutting and sewing that together. One. And then we're going to take our upper part and sew that together. So we have that to this. Woohoo! Woohoo! Let me do a quick press on that. And this time I'm going to press my seams to the sashing again. Cool. And now, because we've done that, we actually get this one I'm going to change because I'm going to make sure that the seams are nested. And let's see if that's going to turn out right. Ooh, I almost sewed it wrong. Orientation does matter. Yes. I check, I triple check, I always doubt myself. Cool. Love it. All right, so one thing, so when I look at this and I said I was, when I was trimming earlier, I was trimming it and I know that I was trimming it just a hair bigger than I needed to. And again, I just wanted to make sure that everything was going to line up correctly. So I'm gonna get to do a final trim. There we go. And that's what we wanted. So we're going to make 4 of those. And you see how just using that square instead of the pattern, her pattern was calling for more half square triangles because they were using alternate colors. But when you dumb it down, then you could just use a square, but you wind up with 1 quadrant. And then this is where you can make another choice. You could either put 4 of these together immediately and you've got a poinsettia, or you can add sashing. And I'm gonna do the 4 just for brevity's sake or time's sake. I'm gonna do 4 of these together, and then yeah, and then I can show on, I'll put it on Instagram. I'll make another one with sashing, and then just that way you get both versions. And then I do promise I'm gonna write down the measurements that I made. I'm dumb it down to what you want to cut them at if you're gonna just add a 1/4 inch, but I was really playing with it, making sure that my sizes were happy, because this is a new one for me and I'm kind of playing around with the pattern itself. All right, so that's 4, or I'm sorry, that's 1. And how are we doing with time? Oh, we're already at an hour. So I'm going to stop there, and then I'll finish up these, and then I'll put them on Instagram, and then I'll just do a recap on Monday, and we'll have something that we can already work on. All right, so let's check it back in with the room. So I don't know what the, Tracy, what's this about? That's called giving the fabric an attitude adjustment. What is that? Yeah, sometimes we're fighting with with ourselves and with our machines and with our fabric. Susan says, I think I could have used an attitude adjustment along with the fabric. I don't know what the origin of that was, but yes, yes, yes. Yes, and of course, yes, there's lots of ways that you can do things. No right or wrong, it's just what works for you. And then Susan's being bad, she's knitting. It's a Christmas ornament in the exact color of Chip's poinsettia as well. So, all right, so at least you guys are crafting. And I hope that you're gonna have plenty of holiday Thanksgiving leftovers, that you still got your eating pants on, or your eating dress. And then Black Friday, you know, hey, get yourself some rulers, get yourself some AccuQuilt. There's all kinds of things that nobody has to know about. All right, thank you very much for tuning in. It was lovely having you, and again, I'm very thankful for you. We are officially 29 days until Christmas. It's turned now into a red background. It's still like, I've got to hit you over the head and say, it's time, it's time. So we got all these projects to make, and hang in there, you can do it. So happy Friday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.